Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Blacklist, a phenomenally amazing episode. A lot of stuff went down in this episode. This is probably like just this is the episode that made you kind of like hold your breath in anticipation for what was going to go down. Basically, we're picking up where last week's episode left off with the whole situation. This episode was brutal, especially like Lena getting her body like shoved into a wood chipper like that just to kind of show Tom how serious they are. It's like, that sucks. It's like, I don't know why there's a part of me that's like, if it was Pete, I wouldn't have felt that bad, but it's just because it was Lena. Because out of anyone, Tom felt the worst about that because he's the one that got Lena involved in this whole situation in the first place. So that whole situation is sad. I mean, luckily it helped Tom escape, because he used like that necklace she had as a way to kind of cut through his zip ties. And like, mad props to Tom through this episode, being like the badass that he is, like escaping like he did. Then there's the whole situation at the, like, I'm getting way ahead of myself and everything, but luckily with this situation, like, Tom was able to get away with Reddington, because I love how they did this episode too, because it was so beautifully done. You have the present situation with Tom, Reddington, and Dembe having to deal with this whole like person after the suitcase situation, because Tom made sure to bounce with the suitcase. Then you have Liz and a task force slowly pulling everything back. Everything that Tom's really been up to, they're slowly figuring it out. They haven't got the complete picture. They do know that this is tied into Nick's death, which she knows that Reddington's looking into it and says, well, is Tom connected to this? But ultimately she walks away thinking, no, Tom is looking into this because he knows that Nick died because of this. So that's because because Harold was like, don't worry, I'm sure Tom has a good reason why he was doing all of this. So it led to some interesting conversations between Reddington and Tom, because like Tom did all of this because he's tired of Reddington lying. The fact of the matter is, you're hiding something from Liz. It needs to come to the surface, because if you don't want her to know something, that means it's something worth, like, that will change everything. So that's why you don't want her to know. And ultimately, it's a situation where it's like we kind of go back to when like the Major first gave this assignment to Tom. Because it's like, remember the whole thing being like, you're not supposed to get close to her, but he did it anyway. Which kind of really quickly, I do appreciate later on in the episode when he's got that suitcase and he pulls out those glasses. He looks at it, kind of smirks at him and just tosses them down. I was like, because that whole thing, I was like, right, you used to wear glasses. Once again, it's just like that whole conversation about, oh yeah, like you used to, like last week's episode, I was like, right, you were married. I forgot, because I let that slip my mind, even though it's such a crucial part of Tom and Liz's story, but I don't know why like that had slipped my mind. I was like, all right, you get technically been married before, but nevertheless, I thought that was kind of like a little like nice weekend nudge, because it's like, oh yeah, he hasn't subsequently worn glasses since like the whole thing came out. He stopped wearing glasses because those glasses represented who he was as Tom. And I guess when you actually break it down, it is like the fact is that he's not wearing those glasses anymore. It's because he's no longer pretending to be anyone else. He's being himself with Liz. So it's almost like a sweet thing when you actually break it down and think about it like that. It could be me super over analyzing it like that, but it's just kind of a nice sentiment to think about. But also turns out that Reddington was actually there on the original wedding day, and he was like, I was doing something else at the time, and when I found out about you being engaged, and I couldn't do anything about it. By the time I got back, in the States and everything, it was their wedding day, and he was furious, but he let it go because he saw the way Liz looked at Tom, and it's like that he's like, he was weak to that. Like, the fact is that he could tell like how happy she was and that she loved him, and that, like I said, he's brought it up before. If it wasn't for the fact that Liz loves him so much, he wouldn't, like, that's the only reason why he cares about Tom so much. It's like, because Tom would be like any other person. It's like, you screwed me over, I'm going to kill you, but it's because it's Liz and because of how important he is to Liz, so it is something that, Reddington admits. He's like, hey, yeah, I get it. No matter what the situation is, like, everything you've ever done is because you love Liz, and everything you've ever done has been for her sake. There's also that moment at like the house that we're hiding out at. A lot of stuff. For one, I love that like all out like escape that they did. I was like, oh god. I was like, the fact is, during events, I'm like, Tom's blood's gonna drop. I was like, okay, like Reddington or somebody catch their blood. Oh, they didn't catch it. Even the whole like Molotov cocktails, like blowing up the their transportation, giving them a huge advantage, like a huge lead. And you had that moment where it's like you see Tom kind of smiling because I guess he doesn't get caught up in too many situations like that, especially him and Renton. I love that line of like, okay, should we move past this whole like father hates the son-in-law situation? That's a whole cliche. I just love it. But the thing is, like, Reddington and Tom came down to the conversation like, you think that knowing this truth, whatever it is with this whole suitcase situation, whatever you're going to find out is going to help Liz. It's going to make things great. Like this, it's going to be some big relief knowing this truth. But it's like, no, how do you know it won't devastate her? Going back to what I said, it's because it's like, oh, in his mind, it's like, well, with the fact that you want it hidden means that is that. But Reddington puts it in a very interesting perspective of just because I want it hidden doesn't mean that it's something bad for me and good for Liz. Just because something's good for Liz doesn't mean it's bad for me. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, they're on the same team. They care about Liz, but for Tom, it's like he spent so much time no longer lying to her, showing who he really was. Had some rough patches over the course of the series, obviously, but they got to where they are now, where they love each other, and it's like he's put lies behind her. I mean, technically, he's still kind of lying about this whole situation, but that was just for her, like because he loves her and cares about her. He doesn't want any more lies in her life, and in his own way, Reddington wants to protect her too. And it also brings up an interesting conversation that Dembe brought up too. He's like, why won't you tell her the truth? There won't really be any peace because you're still lying to Tom and you're lying to Liz. Like, why? And even Reddington's like, I don't know why I'm lying. I guess because he's lied for so long, it's so much easier than telling the truth. Because whatever it is, he's scared to tell Liz. I think it's ultimately what it is because he feels like the moment she knows this truth, it will change everything and he'll lose her forever. But I don't know. Crazy twist is that Tom does find out the truth. We, sadly, as the audience, don't know what that truth is. It can be many different things about who that body really is. We might end up finding, my thoughts are thinking like, what if that DNA test was kind of a lie or something? I don't know. Like, what if that's really her dad? Like, I cut back to that. Like I said, I know it's an asinine theory and it's just like, there's no way it's true, but it's like, I still want to think like, what if the possibility is that Reddington isn't really Reddington, that he's someone else pretending? Because there was always that memory about like her shooting her dad. Like, it's always been kind of like, well, that's not really true. And then there was that whole situation of her losing her memories and then possibly never coming back because that dude who did it was like, oh, if you listen to my deal, I helped with that whole situation. But it's like, that's me where my brain is. I'm thinking that that person in that suitcase is really her dad. Maybe it's something crazy like Reddington is actually maybe her dad's brother. That's why the DNA came back so close, like familial, that maybe that's what it is. Reddington's actually her uncle or something. I don't know. Like I said, this is throwing out any wild theories. I'm sure everyone's got their own theories about what that's all. Obviously, like there's still a debate of whether or not that's her mom in that suitcase. It's like, I don't know. Because it has to be something like that for Kate to have kept it like that. The question is, it makes you wonder though, like when it comes to the creators and the showrunners and the writers of the show, did they know last season who bones those were going to be? Or is that something they're like, we're going to try and figure it out. We're going to, take it like, work it out like, okay, would it be better to be this person or this? I'm curious, like, did they always have the intention of knowing who was going to be in that suitcase? Even at the end of season 4's finale, or is that something that they only came up with now? I mean, is it possible? Because I've heard of situations kind of like using Arrow, for example. I know I'm going on a huge tangent, but even like partway into season 4 of Arrow, they actually had no idea who was going to be in the grave at that whole situation. If you're not caught up on Arrow for that reason, I'm not going to spoil who's in the grave, but nevertheless, you end up finding out. But it's like, I think even partway in the show, they didn't know who was going to be in that grave. They brought it up at the beginning of the season, had no idea. I think I remember hearing that, and I thought that's so fascinating. That might be the situation here. The people behind the show may, at this point, may not even really know for themselves, like whether they've 100% determined what they want that suitcase to represent. So I'd be fascinated to know where they stand on that whole situation. Once again, giving major props to Tom. The way he handled himself in their apartment, taking 3 knife wounds and still kicking ass, taking most of those dudes down until Reddington and Dembe showed up. And obviously cutting to it, like showing you how that other side of it in the beginning of the season, pointing the gun at Tom just to shoot the guy that's behind him, which is, I'm like, I'm not surprised. I figured that was it. I knew they were, because they alluded to it too much. I'm like, even from the beginning, I was like, nah. From the beginning, I was like, there's no way he's actually going to kill Tom. Because the fact of the matter is, he is too important to Liz. Ain't no way he would do it. Like, I mean, in a part of my brain, I was like, at least he might do it. Just because because that was the whole point, to make you think he would do it, because the secret of this suitcase is that important. So, but the reason, the moment this episode had me holding my breath was that moment in that car. It's like Tom is bleeding out. Liz is severely hurt. Like, I didn't realize just how hurt she was, because she was kind of going in and out, but it's like, she got hurt really badly, because like she's bleeding a lot from her head. Like, I think she has like a massive like concussion, like it cracked her like head open, so she was bleeding a lot. And like, dude, I was just on the edge of my seat. Like, it's like Tom, Liz, like at this point it was like any one of them could die. I was like, please let both of them live, please let both of them, because you have Liz being like, Tom, to tell Agnes about me. He's like, no, I can't live without you. I'm like, dude, don't say this. Come on, both of you gonna pull through. And then lo and behold, when it's all said and done, we cut to 10 months later, because Liz was in a coma the entire time. Tom died. I was like, no! I was like devastated, dude. I was like, that sucks. And because what makes this situation worse is because, going back to what Dembe said, because he won't tell the truth. All of this happened because Reddington lied. He didn't tell the truth. If he had told the truth from the beginning about the body, Tom went out of his way to do what he did. You know, might not have been the thing. It might not have turned out this way, because Kate might not have sent that body. And it's like that's the thing though. Like, you almost feel like you're kind of mad at Kate to a certain extent, because it's like, because of Kate, things went to this extreme. But it's like, because things went to this extreme, that showed you how much she cares about Liz. She wanted to turn on the person she's worked with for so long, that was an ally, that she was a confidant to, because of Liz. That shows you how much she loved and adored Liz. I mean, especially because her and Liz's mom, like, they were kind of like a tight-knit group of, like, you know, especially for Kate, because she wasn't supposed to love Liz. She was supposed to, you know, as a nanny, not supposed to get too close, never love her. I'm supposed to be the one that loves her. But also, she eventually couldn't help it. And then there's also the fact is that, well, her mom wasn't around anymore, so it led to that situation of that happening. And it's just, when it's all said and done, because Tom figured it out, but no one else knows. Those secrets of those bones died with him to a certain extent, because the bad guy in this episode walked away with the bones and the DNA results. Which, as they, like, still don't know exactly how he got access to them, like, the moment Pete ran the DNA and stuff like that. So, either this guy must have, like, some government connections, or just, like, well, he could be connected to the government, or he's just a bad guy that has connections within the government, what I'm trying to say. But either way, Reddington's not going to tell her the truth, but he's still got to worry about that information being out there. But once again, if he had not lied about it, none of this would have happened. And now he's got to live with knowing that Tom died because he lied about everything. And it's like, because he also knows when the truth comes out that this was all going back to Reddington specifically, because Redding was keeping more secrets. Liz will never forgive him for this. There have been moments she's been pissed at him in the past, but this is Tom we're talking about here. She will never forgive him. And I guarantee you that's what's going to terrify Reddington the most. Even like, because I hate it, because you had that moment where like Samar and Haran were holding hands, just like looking at the situation before them. It's like, dude, it's not fair, because this also means that Agnes has to grow up not having a father. Also, in this whole situation, in retrospect, it's something I brought up at the beginning of the season 2. It's because we will never get Tom's side story because of the whole, like, Blacklist redemption being canceled and everything. So it's like his part to play in the story had to be removed anyway. They could just have his character floating around, because I'm sure they could, but it's just kind of, it's a little murky with the whole redemption situation, because there'll always be the questions like, well, what happened to Tom during all that? Anytime he's on part of the show, so I guess you also remove that from the equation. Because for one, we have no idea. Like, maybe they never had any plans of ever bringing Tom back to the blacklist. You know, it was always supposed to be like, oh, he stays on the blacklist redemption until he figures out his whole situation. So maybe this was kind of, they couldn't tell Tom's story this way, so maybe they were like, okay, we got to bring Tom's story to a close some shape or form. I mean, maybe this was how they always wanted Tom's story to eventually end, whether it's across this show or in Blacklist Redemption. So, but this does bring some interesting things. Like I said, it gets a little murky with the whole, like, situation, but this could be an opportunity to bring in some crossover from the Blacklist Redemption. We can get, like, Susan popping up, because it's, like I said, that depends on how deep they want to go about this whole situation. Like I said, it's just going to be a situation they kind of tap it, like they dance around it, but you know, how far they go with this. So I was looking at it. There were no previews that popped up for the next episode to my knowledge. So usually that means it's either going on a long break or not. So that means I don't think there's going to be an episode next week. And after that, it's, well, especially not next week, because next week is Thanksgiving, right? I think it is. Maybe. So I think that's going to play a part in it too. But it's just like, I don't know. That might also mean that it's just going to take a break for a while. That might be considered like the winter finale, I guess, or fall finale. We'll just kind of have to wait and see, you know. Like, you know, usually I look up, you know, the list of episodes. That's how, like, you know, I make sure I get the episode titles and stuff like right for the tags, as well as the title for the video, or rather the recordings. So I'll know for sure by then. You know, maybe I'll leave a comment or something, be like, oh yeah, the next episode is blah 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 blah, if you're curious at all. But like I said, a phenomenal episode. I should have known they were killing Tom because of, like I said, he rocked it this episode. He was just like, it just like from the very beginning, it almost seemed like he was going to die anyway. But like I said, there was that moment. It was like, maybe it could be him. It could be Liz. Maybe they can both live. But man, also makes you wonder, like, are we going to get a look at what went down these past 10 months? Did Reddington track that dude down? Like, it has been 10 months. Like, she was in a coma that entire time. So that's also a year that her baby girl had to grow up. Most likely, well, there was the nanny Rose. Maybe she took care of her. Maybe Reddington popped in every once in a while. But it's like, I want to know, what did Tom figure out? Because he's like, I figured it all out. It's like, because it's not even just this. Dembe has been telling him for years, well, you know, seasons in the show, to tell Liz the truth. But once again, like I said, he won't, even he doesn't understand. I don't know whether it is that he is scared. It's where my mind immediately goes, but maybe there's something else to it. Like I said, maybe he just lied so long, he doesn't know how to tell the truth in this whole situation. And also all that stuff, like flashing back to the beginning of the relationship, like, oh, how they got involved essentially, and then their wedding is like, yeah, it sucks. Because let's not forget too, they weren't even remarried again that long. It's like, this was supposed to be their new beginning, like, but here it is, it's falling apart. And I'm just like, I was like, because the fact is, I was like, please, Tom, please walk into that room. Please, like, she's like asking for, please walk in. It's like, no, just because they needed to do that too, because it's like, Tom can't live because he knows the truth. Because if he knows the truth, he's going to spend every moment he has trying to get Liz to know the truth too. So now this gives Reddington a chance to keep lying to Liz, which, you know, Dempe's definitely going to be like, don't do that. Because the longer he lies about it, the worse things they're going to get. Because I'm sure Liz is going to be out for revenge for the guy that did this. Because she's going to be like, yeah, this guy was after you. Like, what's this whole situation about, you know, killing Nick? And now, Tom, it was all about getting to you. You know, what about that suitcase? Because she was going in and out of consciousness. So it's like, what was this suitcase about? She's going to be asking questions like that. She might be suspicious of Reddington already, but I don't think so. I think it's just a situation of like, she's not going to know everything going in. Because she's already got the wrong idea about this whole scenario that like, oh, Tom was looking into Nick's murder, and so that's what this was all about. He got involved in something he shouldn't have. You know, Liz might even blame herself, being like, yeah, all the people, because I just thought about that, because these are more people in Liz's life that are gone. Like, the people that are closest to her keep dying, you know, and it's just like, and still there's also another thing to add up too. It's like, when the hell is Reddington going to take her to see her grandfather? That situation has still not come up yet, and I don't know why. I'm pretty sure the last time he saw her grandfather was season four's finale during the whole Kate situation. So, like I said, a phenomenal episode. I cannot wait to see what the Blacklist has in store for us going forward with this whole situation. It's such a gut-wrenching episode, dude. It was so good, but so gut-wrenching. I was like, I didn't want it to end like this. But we're stuck with things. There is no coming back from this. Not unless it's some like super crazy thing of Tom faking his death, but that looks super real, and it looks like there's no faking it this time. And it's just like, dude, that sucks. It's not like Reddington takes joy out of this. Yes, it keeps the secret out of his hands. Once again, still leaves it in that dude's hand, but still it doesn't make it any easier because he was happy because Liz was happy. And now that now that Tom's gone, Liz is devastated, and Reddington wouldn't want that for her, you know? He loves her too much, you know? So, like I said, we will just have to wait and see what goes down in the next Blacklist episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.